Hello and welcome to this course on email marketing. In this course, we're going to cover how to increase your revenue through email marketing. This course is divided into 3 modules. Module 1 covers email platform basics. Module 2 covers the actual emails themselves. And Module 3 covers advanced automation. By the time this course is over, you'll know how to effectively create and launch email campaigns for your business. So without further ado, let's dive into the first module. Okay guys, welcome to Module 1. In this module, our expert will be teaching you about the basic layouts and functionality of email marketing platforms. So get ready to take some notes and let's jump right in.
Alright guys, so in this lesson we're going to be covering email marketing basics, and we're going to be focusing on just one email autoresponder service. And the reason I say that is because there's tons of them out there. There's Infusionsoft, there's GetResponse, Aweber, ConvertKit, ActiveCampaign. There's so many out there. And some new ones as well. Drip, Market Hero. Every day it seems like there's a new one that comes out. And the thing is, almost all of them, despite having slightly different terminology, are going to have the same basic functionality, okay? It's almost universal. Now, a lot of them are also basically all-in-one apparatuses, okay? They're moving sort of in that direction where they handle not only your email marketing, but also everything else, landing pages, webinars, creating your forms, and e-commerce related stuff, literally everything you could possibly think of. Since this course is about email marketing, we're just going to focus on those main categories having to do with email, okay? And what we're going to be doing in this lesson is covering contacts, email marketing, which is divided into autoresponders and newsletters, and automation. Once again, all of the terminology that you see here might be a little bit different depending on what autoresponder you're utilizing. However, the functionality and the concepts are all the same, and you won't have any trouble figuring out how this sort of correlates to what you're using. So to start our little tour, we're going to come over here to contacts. Now, contacts, again, we talked about terminology. Depending on what autoresponder system you're going to be using, sometimes it's called subscribers. Drip, a relatively new email marketing platform, has just come out with a new theme of their own where they don't use either of those words anymore. Now it's called people, but you get the idea and you'll be able to figure it out pretty clearly. So what we have here are all of our email lists. Under our contact list section, email lists, and this is how we sort of subdivide and segment all of our subscribers into different audiences based on what funnel they came through or what group they belong to, okay? So here we can either browse our contacts by drilling down into the different lists, or we can actually just search by name. So for example, right here, what we'll get as results, not only the emails and names, but also the lists that they belong to. So it's pretty easy to find a specific contact if you are, in fact, looking for a specific one. Let's talk about list hygiene. This is an important one here. List hygiene, the concept of list hygiene is basically having low-quality contacts on your list, contacts who don't open your emails or send you to the spam folder or that sort of thing. Actually, that hurts your deliverability. So you want to come in and do some list hygiene, which means removing people from your list or blacklisting certain emails in advance to ensure that no problematic people get added to your subscriber lists. And a lot of times your email autoresponders will have their own built-in systems for that. Another important one here is statistics. So this is really good to monitor so that you see the health of your list building over time. And this will give you information on how your growth is. That's sort of the main thing that you're looking at here, as well as what types of signups you are getting. So for example, if we were to switch the date here to the last 2 months, you'll see a lot more data here. And what we'll see is that pretty much our entire list came through API integrations with third-party platforms. So in this case, most of these people came onto our list by purchasing a product, and we had an API integration with our billing or our purchasing platform. So there's plenty of analyzing to do and plenty of searching that you could do inside of the contacts section. Let's move on now. Let's come back to the dashboard. We're going to move on to the email marketing section, okay? Now, email marketing is divided into actual real-time newsletters that you type and you send out or you schedule to go out later, or autoresponders, which means things that are automatically sent out in sequence based on a point in time from when someone joins your list. Okay, so first let's go over newsletters. If you wanted to create a newsletter, you would do that once again in real time. You could use your drag and drop email editor. Is an HTML option if you are sort of a coder and you know what you're doing in that area. However, it's recommended that you just use the drag and drop builder, and pretty much every autoresponder platform out there has one of those. You could choose a template here and then just go with it and create your email message that way. Now, in another module, we'll go over actually creating the email messages. That's not really what we're going for right now. We'll come back to the dashboard, back to email marketing, and let's talk about the difference between newsletters and autoresponders. So autoresponders, this is where you would come inside of GetResponse to set those up or to monitor those. As you can see, you've got statistics here. Keep in mind, the statistics here are not for a single broadcast. Autoresponders are based on the individual who joined your list. So from the moment that they joined, your autoresponder sequences are set up to send them an email the next day and the next day and the next day. And the cumulative performance of each of those autoresponder messages can be viewed here in the statistics columns, but it's not the same as checking out the statistics for a single broadcast, okay? And basically what you would do is you'd come up with an autoresponder name, and you would choose what list it applies to, and you would choose, it's recommended that you choose the same time they signed up. Because based on the person's day-to-day schedule, the only one time that you can be sure, or almost sure, that they will definitely be at a computer is the time that they were at a computer when they signed up. Okay, so that sort of makes logical sense. So it's recommended that you choose time they signed up, but you've got some other options here as well. And choose days of the week. And right here for this message, if we wanted it to go out immediately after they signed up, for example, if we want to immediately deliver a lead magnet after they opted in for a lead magnet, like a free report or something, we would set this to day 0, okay, and it'll go out immediately, okay? But for subsequent days, so the next day would be day 1, we recommend that you stick with same time that they signed up. Again, this is GetResponse, but the process is usually the same for other email platforms that still have autoresponder sequences. And that's pretty much it for autoresponders. One note, don't get autoresponders confused with automation, which is what we're going to be looking at momentarily. Let's come over here to drafts. And drafts are pretty self-explanatory. If you're in the middle of creating an email and you don't quite get it finished, you can save it as a draft or just save it in case your computer shuts down or something. All of that will be found here. You can grab these and pick up right where you left off and send those, okay? So now let's come back to the dashboard. And the final part of the email marketing equation is automation. Now this is different from autoresponder sequences. Autoresponder sequences are kind of just, you know, cut and dry, day 1, day 2, day 3, etc. There's no customization. There's no adaptation based on behavior. The whole idea behind automation is creating workflows that change and adjust themselves based on the behavior of your subscribers. It gets pretty in-depth. It's a pretty nifty tool to have. You would basically come over here to click Create Workflow to create one, and we'll do that in another module. Or what you could do is come over here and mess with an existing one or check out the performance of an existing one. So that's pretty much it for the basic overview of the basic functionality of email autoresponders. Again, I know I've beat this dead horse a few times. Keep in mind, terminology may be different, but functionality is pretty much the same no matter what email autoresponder service you're using. Now let's move on to the next module where we're going to get more into the actual emails themselves.
Hey folks, welcome to Module 2. In this module, our expert will be covering the types and styles of marketing emails. So get ready to take some notes and let's jump right in.
All right, so we're going to go over how to create an email newsletter, and it's going to be pretty bare bones. I just want you to understand the whole process and the concept, and then we're going to go into some examples of email newsletter types, okay? So we're going to come over here to create newsletter. We'll choose the drag and drop email editor. Don't mess with the HTML source editor unless you're an actual coder or you have a coder who works for you. And we're going to give our message a name. Doesn't really matter for this example. We'll hit next. And you have lots of templates to choose from here already created by GetResponse, and the same goes for any email autoresponder service that you are using. Okay, you log in and I guarantee you'll find several pre-done templates that you can utilize that may or may not match your style. In our case, we're just going to sort of start with a blank template, one column, just like this. All right, so here we are inside of the builder. We're just going to go over the basic process of the drag and drop building experience. And again, this is mostly going to be the same no matter what email autoresponder you are utilizing. However, the layout, the terminology might be a little bit different. So let's start with an image. It's always good to start with a good image. Let's go ahead and grab this one here. This is a good one for choices, right? And we're going to come over here and add another text block up here. Okay, and this is pretty basic stuff. Salutation, so dear customer, and we're not actually going to fill this in here because we don't have anything to type about. We'll get into the actual content of your emails in a moment. We're just going through the mechanical process right now. All right, so we've got a basic email here, okay? And then finally, signing off. All right. Now, there's a few things to keep in mind about your emails here. Number one, personalization is a thing nowadays. Okay, so if you wanted to, and it depends on what kind of data you collect during the opt-in process, but if you wanted to, instead of customer right here, you could click this little icon here for personalize and put their name or their first name right there, and their actual name when they read the email would be here. There would be no brackets or anything like that. Customization and personalization, tailoring it to your specific individual subscriber, that has been shown quite a bit to increase your email performance and your sales and so on and so forth, and your click-through rates. So it's definitely something that you want to toy with at least a little bit if the technology is available, which it is with the vast majority of autoresponders, and if name is something that you collect during the opt-in process. So another thing to consider here is link placement. So a lot of people will just place their link sending to a promotional offer or a product or a cross-sell or something inside of the main body. However, one thing you want to keep in mind with regard to emails overall, a huge percentage of your customers and of your subscribers will skip and skim everything in your email message and just go straight to the PS. It's a fact, it's a phenomenon, it's well known, and so you want to accommodate those people as well and write a little message, usually 1 or 2 sentences long, sort of a TLDR, too long didn't read, summarizing what it is that you're offering, and a link there as well. Now let's continue. I know this is just a bare bones example here. We'll get into some actual email writing and email style in a moment. Let's go through the process here as though we were going to actually send this to someone. So the next thing we're going to choose is our recipients, okay? So let's just grab one of our email lists here. We could grab as many as we wanted to. Here we have an option to actually exclude recipients. So let's say we have one list, which is sort of an umbrella list of all of our customers, and we want to send it to everybody, except we also have another list that everyone goes on to when they buy product A. Now what we want to do if we're doing a promotion for product A is get everyone else to buy it, but not bother or bug the people who already own it. And the best way to do that is simply to create an exclusion and choose a list to not send it to. Does that kind of make sense? So we're going to go ahead and click Next Step. And here we have options for either sending or scheduling. Now, if we send it, it'll go out right now, real time. It's an actual newsletter broadcast. If we want to schedule it, all right, we can actually choose the date and time, and make sure you're paying attention to your time zone as well. And most email autoresponders have a little bit of customization and added features when it comes to how you schedule it in relation to where your folks are around the world. GetResponse in particular has 2 features. One is called Perfect Timing, and that actually is based on data for your subscribers, based on when they usually open emails. It's universal data on each subscriber. Okay, it's all anonymous data, but basically, if you have Bob over in Arizona and he opens most of his emails between 3 and 4, GetResponse somehow knows that, all right, and you can make sure that it's sent out at whatever the optimum time is for that subscriber, okay? And just keep in mind, though, if you choose this, it could theoretically be 24 hours before this newsletter goes out to the last of your subscribers, because it's going to be based on, out of a 24-hour day, when each individual is going to be most likely to open it, okay? The other thing here is to choose time travel, and that's just what the feature is called in GetResponse. Again, the terminology might be a little bit different, but basically you send it out at 4 p.m. universally, based on people's time zones. So whatever 4 p.m. is for them. So in this case, 4:55 p.m. it'll go out to the folks here at 4:55 p.m. In the UK, it won't go out to them until it's 4:55 p.m. their time, and so on and so forth. And that can be useful for various reasons. If you're trying to catch people at certain times of the average typical workday, you want to catch people before they go to work at 6 in the morning, or after they finish their supper at 7 o'clock at night, or something like that. It can be really useful for those purposes as well, especially if you have a large international audience. Once we were happy with that, we would hit schedule, or if we just wanted to send it right now, we would go back to just hitting send. We'd hit cancel and send. We're not going to send this, obviously, because it's not a real one. Let's look at some real ones and talk about the different styles of email newsletters, okay? So first off, we've got what I call the blind style, okay? This is sort of a teaser. It's very low on text, okay? It's very short on content. And the idea is just to arouse curiosity so that people want to click that link and get there. So this is for maximizing clicks, and you will typically get higher click-through rates on these types of emails because it's just human nature. People see what you're saying. Maybe you throw out a bold claim or something along those lines, like in this case, yikes, this is incredible. Your average person wants to at least see what that is. Now, the quality and the follow-through of the click might not be so great. So clicks does not always directly correspond to higher levels of sales, okay? Usually it does, but not always, okay? You might actually, especially if the quality of what you're sending people to will turn them off and maybe give them the impression that you were using, clickbait, as they call it. You could have sort of the opposite effect. So be careful with this, all right? Don't annoy your subscribers. But this is one style of email that is especially optimized for increasing your click-through rate. Next, we have the sort of long-form pre-selling. There's different names for this. I call it a pre-sell email, where you're going to be sending people to an offer, but you're actually going to be engaging in the actual selling process. You're trying to convince people in the email. You're trying to sell them in the email on why they should buy what you're going to be sending them to. So in this case, and oh, by the way, I debranded these because I want you guys to understand it doesn't matter what's being sold. These styles and these types of emails apply to anything that you're trying to sell. And in this case, you can see it's pretty long form. There's a bunch of whys. There's a bunch of justification. There's a bunch of logic going on here. It's basically a little sales letter inside of the email message. Okay. Now, for some people, it might not be this. This is just purely logical selling. Hey, you should buy this for this reason. Look at these trends, etc., etc., etc. In some cases, it might be a story. Okay. Hey, I woke up today and this is what I thought about, or I was on a walk with my dog and this happened, and that's how you sort of tie it into clicking on a link and selling them something. The point of this, however, is that it's long. Okay, it's long form, and you're doing the heavy lifting of selling yourself before you send people to an offer. And finally, we have the standard old, what I guess you could call the old school newsletter type email. Okay, once again, this is debranded, redacted, if you will, because it doesn't matter what type of business you're in, you can utilize this and it can apply to what you're doing. So in this case, we've got sort of a table of contents at the top to let people know what we're going to be talking about in this quote-unquote issue. All right, and a lot of people, they resonate with this because they often don't feel like they're being sold to in these cases. Okay, it looks like they're actually being given some important news, some important topics. Okay, so in this case, we've got 3 topics that are being discussed. In this case, we've got a feature or an opportunity here. Over here, we've got another feature and an update on slow support desk time. Over here, we've got the actual pitch, and it's a little bit bigger and in red. Okay, so this is the item. It's still a sales email, but it's being dressed up as something that's not as salesy. Okay, so we've got the actual headline here. We've got a little bit of pre-selling, and then of course we got a link, and down here in the PS, another soft sell link like we discussed earlier for those people who just skim and go straight to the bottom. Now, your list or your business might have its own style, okay, its own sort of theme that it sticks to most of the time. However, a lot of people resonate with each of these different styles of emails. Okay, a lot of people are more likely to click through and buy something based on one style or the other. And so if you're doing a 3 or 4 or a 5-day campaign trying to sell something, hey, why not utilize and incorporate each of these different styles of email writing at least once to make sure that you're touching all those bases and increasing your chances of selling. So that's briefly touching on the actual emails themselves. In the next module, we'll move on to discussing the concept of email automation.
All right, welcome to Module 3. In this module, our expert will teach you about advanced email automation sequences. So get ready to take some notes and let's jump right in.
Okay, so we're going to go over basically how to create an automation workflow as well as the logic behind the different types of workflows. So really, we're going to click on Create Workflow here. Really what you want to do here is leverage the technological ability that we have these days. This is getting more and more popular. Okay, it's actually getting to the point where it's non-negotiable. You have to have this in your business these days. You want to basically be able to adjust automatically the messaging that you're sending to your contacts or to your customers based on how they interact or don't interact with your email messages. Okay, and just to give you an example, we'll come over here, we'll click Start Now. And we're just going to toy around a little bit with the different types of automation workflows that we can create. Okay, so we're going to start with, there's always a starting process. Okay, for a lot of people, it's when a contact is tagged in a certain way, either automatically or manually. In our case, we're going to go with subscribes. Okay, when someone subscribes to our list, we can then come over here to send them a message. All right, now that's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, that's pretty basic stuff. If they subscribe to any list, we send them a message. Now, in this case, if you have lots of lists, you want to specifically select an actual list that you're working with. Okay, so if somebody grabs this case study, we'll send them a specific welcome message that is particular to that case study. Thanks for grabbing the case study. You can download it here, something along those lines. And basically, you would select a message that already exists inside of your email marketing software, or create a new one and add it there. And then we're going to do something special. This is where we're going to sort of showcase what automation can do. Over here to Elements, we're going to go to Message Opened ? Okay, I'm going to delete this. Oops, should not have deleted that actually. I'll hit Control Z to bring that back. All right, so message was sent, right? We'll just grab a random one here. And then we're going to connect this newsletter opened one to that particular email. Okay, so we've got this email message, and this is asking the question. It's an automation question. Was this message opened by each individual subscriber? Okay, and then we're going to do something special. In the case of no, the red X here, if a subscriber does not open this, we're going to do something special. We're going to come over here and we're going to say, wait for, let's say 12 hours, okay? We'll wait for 12 hours, and then we're going to send them, so we're giving them a little bit of time to still open that initial message, okay? 12 hours later, if they still haven't opened that, we're going to send them another message, okay? Come on over here. And this message can be a follow-up along the lines of, okay, now listen to this, along the lines of, hey, we sent you a welcome message. It's got some important links in it. Did you get it? Okay, something along those lines. Or just making sure you saw this morning. Something, that increases the chances that people are going to click on your links or interact with your emails. Okay, so you're basically taking two swings here to try and make sure people get it. And you could do this perpetually if you wanted to. It's not a good idea, but technologically speaking, you could just keep doing this. Keep hitting the people who do not open with another one, okay? And the subject line can say, hey, did you get my last email, or something along those lines. And so that's a whole new world of customization. If they did open that message, okay, if they did open that email, you can then send them into what some would call a welcome or an indoctrination sequence, okay? So the first one was literally just the delivery of a lead magnet, of a free report or what have you. And the next one's going to be, hey, let me tell you a little bit about my brand, about my identity, about who we are at, company X. All right. That's very important. All right. That's very valuable. And for some people, those emails those sequences, will actually be 3 or 4 emails long. Okay. And if they open this one, then you could send them to another email, right? Let's go ahead and go to message opened. Let's connect here. All right. And if that message was opened, we will send them another email, okay? In this case, we'll go to maybe a content piece. So now you're starting content marketing. You're sending them to your blog, right? And in that case, what we're really interested in is, did they click the link to the content piece? Okay. And once again, let's come on over here and select a message. You've always got to select a message. And basically what we would do next is, if they didn't click it, we would do another one of those follow-ups. Hey, did you check out this blog post that we sent you earlier this morning? Okay. If they did click it, you could, activate the next portion of your content marketing, email sequence. Okay. And send them something else after that, and so on and so forth. Now that's the actual messaging and how you link all of that together. But there's a lot of other things you can do here. There's a lot of things that you can do in terms of the cause and effect space, monitoring, scoring. If you've got people who get down here and they still haven't opened your initial delivery email, or if they get down here and they haven't opened your welcome email or something like that, you can actually tag them. Okay, if you wanted to, you could create a tag. Okay, and you've got to create these in advance, or so you can select one that's already in existence. Okay, and you could create a tag, and it could be non-openers or tire kickers or something like that, right? And that way you can just sort of start categorizing people based on their behavior, and you'll have an idea of how many people sort of don't interact with your welcome sequence and the ones who do. All right. And based on people's interaction with your emails, you can later on take those, and let's say you're putting together a high ticket offer and you only want, real action takers. Okay. Then when you're sending out that newsletter, you can specifically send it only to the people who are tagged as action takers, and exclude the people who are sort of tire kickers. So that's very useful in and of itself. And of course, scoring helps you do something similar. Okay, you sort of apply arbitrary numerical values to people based on how much they interact, or whether they click links, or whether they buy things from you. Okay, and then of course there's the effect. Okay, cause and effect. So if people, let's say that you get all the way down here, okay, and you've tried to follow up with them and they're just not answering, you can just remove them from your list, because that will hurt your email performance, by the way. Okay, if people just sign up to your list and they never open, and they never open, and they never open, that can actually have a negative impact on your deliverability. Okay, because it's telling all of the software and all the gizmos out there on your side with your autoresponder, but also on, sort of the Gmail and Yahoo Mail side of things, that people don't want to open your messages. Okay, so it's not good to have people on your list who you're mailing who aren't opening your messages, and you could literally just remove them from the list right here after you've given them several chances. Ultimately, though, you want either the thing to just end by itself, or send them into a new pipeline or a new sequence. Okay, so what you could do is, let's say that they've done a good job and they're action takers, and they've read all of your content, clicked your links. At the very end, you could move them to a new workflow, and the new workflow could be cross-selling something else. Okay, or the new workflow could just be a general 14-day content marketing thing, or it could be anything that you want it to, and then you would go and create that new workflow in and of itself. So you're creating workflows that accomplish, 1 or 2 goals. Okay, don't make them too long or overly complex, because you're increasing the chances of something going wrong or making a mistake. And then you just move them into another workflow and another workflow, and so on and so forth. You can also change what list they're on. Okay, you can move them to a different list. If you've got a list, if you don't want to remove people from your contacts, but if you want the ones who are sort of not interacting as much to go to a separate list, you could do that right here. Okay, you could copy people to different lists. You can do 100 things in here, and it's incredibly, incredibly important that you utilize the power of automation. Now let's head back over to where we were a moment ago, to the actual automation dashboard, where those templates were. And let's look at some example templates, just so you get an idea of what other businesses are doing. Okay, we have affiliate cross-selling. Okay, this is pretty basic. You're just putting people through sort of a gauntlet where you're trying to get them to buy something else, okay? And you're using tagging there so that you can later on know who people are based on whether or not they interacted with that sequence. Another one here, upselling, right? We've all been upsold before. You can create your email sequence that does that for you. And by the way, these templates are all plug and play, okay? So they're ready to go, and you just choose what message goes here, right? And what tag is assigned, so on and so forth. Converting contacts to customers, okay? So changing people from just being a subscriber, a freebie seeker, into being an actual buyer who pulls out their credit card, okay? That's a good place to start after your welcome sequence. Another thing here, abandoned cart, okay? If you're doing e-commerce, okay, and you've got people and you've got the software that will add people to a mailing list and let you know if they didn't buy something that they added to their cart, boom, right here, plug and play. All right, down here we've got, let's see, a welcome sequence. Over here we've got rewarding people who are loyal. So hey, thanks for opening, all of our emails and reading our content. We want to give you, this message here could be, hey, we want to give you a reward. We want to give you a gift card or something like that. Here we've got a win-back campaign. This is very useful for those tire kickers, those people who are just not interacting with your brand at all. You can send them a series of messages trying to get them to open up those subject lines. Hey, are you mad at me? Or, hey, I'm going to remove you from my list, or something like that, just to get them to open that email. And if they click on a link, then, you keep them in your list, and maybe you thank them for finally interacting with you or something along those lines. You survey them. Hey, what would you like from our brand? What could we do? How can we make this more, interesting? A win-back campaign is great for, not just getting people to click something and quote, win them back from a tech perspective, but also for, sending them emails that help you learn what they want from you and why they weren't interacting in the first place. And for the ones who keep ignoring that, boom, remove them from the account right here. So this is all plug and play, and pretty much any email autoresponder that you grab these days has automation. It has an automation section, and it has templates just like these that you can use and sort of plug and play and really leverage the power of automation and behavioral dynamic response is what Frank Kern calls it. Really, really basing your marketing on the actions and the behavior of your customers and your subscribers. There's nothing really more powerful than that. So make sure you're making good use of this technology.